Welcome to Varsity. I'm Ryan Aber, joined by Jason Kersey. Jason, a big week of games this week. Most games being played on Thursday this week because of fall break. None bigger than over at Douglas on Thursday night, where Hara, an undefeated Hara team, plays the defending state champions. What are your initial thoughts on this one?
Well, you know, Douglas is coming off. They lost a few weeks ago to Cushing, and they seem to be getting back on the right track. They've got a lot of good athletes. They're really talented. They've been in these big games before. Hara's still kind of a budding power. They're getting to the point where they're getting more used to playing in these types of games, so it should be a good one.
And Hara, I think you've got to start with their defense. Multiple shutouts this year. I believe they've shut out 3 teams, haven't allowed more than 21 points to any opponent. And then you look at their defense. Brandon McDonald, great season so far, almost 80 tackles. Can this defense slow down Douglas's powerful offense, though?
You know, that remains to be seen. I think that's going to be an interesting matchup to watch in this game because Douglas does have so many athletes on their offense. So I don't know.
And we'll jump right into this then. Who do you like in this one?
At this point, I like Douglas. I think that they, like I said before, they've been in these types of games before. Hara's still sort of getting to that point. It's at Douglas. I think that makes a difference. So I'm going to take the Trojans in this one.
And I think I'm going to go the same way. I've got to go with Douglas in this game. I think just offensively, you look at the depth that they have. They go 4 deep running the ball, mostly running backs there. And I think that depth is just going to be pounded at Hara's defense. And I think they're going to wear them down and eventually come out with the win by a touchdown to 10 points. The second game we've got to talk about is probably an even bigger game in the class. You start at the top of the class. Wagner, the defending the team that played Douglas in the state championship game last year, ranked at number 1, playing Catoosa, a team that's sort of I don't want to say come out of nowhere. They had a great finish to last year, but really kept that rolling going into this year.
Yeah, and we're looking at a rematch of last year's Class 4A semifinal when Wagner beat Catoosa pretty handily. But yes, Catoosa has come out. They've really become a great team this year, number 2 in the state. They've got a great running attack, and so that should be a really interesting matchup to watch.
Yeah, Catoosa with Cole Shilin and Levi Browning really have a big-time 2-pronged rushing attack. They've scored, I believe, in the 40s in all but 1 or 2 games this year. Wagner's defense is pretty well known. Does Wagner's defense slow that rushing game down?
I think that's going to be the key. I think if Catoosa can rush on Wagner, can establish the run, that doesn't quite take Kevin Peterson out of the game, but it makes it less likely for him to make a big play on defense or on the special teams.
And you mentioned Kevin Peterson, a really fantastic 2-way player for Wagner, part of a long line of big-time skill position guys that they've had. How big of an impact does he have on this game?
Well, I think that he's got to be the main guy you watch in this one. He can impact the game in so many different ways, on offense, defense, special teams. I think that slowing him down, I don't think you can stop him, but slowing him down is going to be a big key for Catoosa's chances.
What do you think? Who comes out on top of this one?
I'm going to go with Wagner in this one, just because last year they handled him fairly easily in the playoffs and the semifinals, and I think kind of coming back to what I said about Douglas, they've been here before.
Yeah, I'm going to go the same way. I think Wagner. I think Peterson is going to play a big impact in this one, but the guy I look to have the biggest impact for Wagner on defense is Jeremy Applegate. Another guy that's part of a big-time line of players that they've had come through there. He's almost up to 100 tackles already, really disrupts things in the middle for them, and I think he's enough to slow them down or at least force them to go outside a little bit more than they normally would. I think Wagner wins this game by a couple touchdowns. Finally, Jason, on Friday, a big 6A game that we've been looking forward to for a while. Lawton comes into Wantland Stadium to play an undefeated Edmond North team. Edmond North's a team that's making a statement that they want to be thought of among the championship contenders in 6A. How do you see this one shaking out?
Well, this is a game where Edmond North saw probably the best defense they've seen all year last week against Westmore. And they started off pretty slow, but they came out in the second half and put some points on the board. I think this defense is even better. So it's going to be interesting to see how their running attack, which has been great all year, can match up, especially with Lawton's defensive line, which has just been unbelievable.
Yeah, you talk about Lawton, you talk about their speed on the ends. The defensive ends are just absolutely phenomenal. DJ Ward leading that charge. But how does Edmond North's size? We know they've got size up front. Do they have the speed and athleticism, though, to match up and contain those guys?
I think that's going to be the key to this game. You know, Edmond North's offensive line is huge, like you said, but they really are athletic and they can move. And I think that they can slow down at Lawton's defensive line. Yes.
And Lawton offensively with some varied weapons. They've got the big running back, Ivan Thomas, that they like to just pound at you. But he can move a little bit for a guy that's got the size he does. They can also throw the ball if they want. How do you see that matchup going with the Huskies defense?
The Huskies defense has been great this year. You know, they faced Casey Curtis, a great running back from Putnam City a few weeks ago, and held him and made him virtually not a factor at all in that game. Now, I think Lawton's offensive line is probably a little bit better, so that plays a difference. But I think Edmond North's defense can stack up and slow him down.
It sounds like you're leaning toward picking the Huskies in this one?
I am. I'm going to go with Edmond North. I think they're a complete team. I think that they stay undefeated heading into the Week 9 when they face Edmond Santa Fe and what's going to be a big-time showdown.
And Jason, we've agreed with everything so far. I'm going to change it up a little bit, though. I think Lawton is a team with more speed than any team that Edmond North has played this year. I think they've got some various talents on defense that are going to really give Edmond North problems. They can go to the air when they need to. They've got speed that just Edmond North hasn't seen overall in any team. Casey Curtis is a fantastic back, but I think you look at Ivan Thomas and some of the other weapons that Lawton has on defense, and I think, or offense, excuse me, and I think Lawton pulls off the big upset here on Friday night at Watland Stadium.
Yeah, could happen.
It'll be a fun one, Jason.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, and thank you. And check us out every day at newsok.com/varsity for the best high school coverage anywhere.